Welcome to the Maryland Means Business Podcast. I'm Cal, here with Chessie, and today we get to close out a story we opened back in July.
Ooh, a callback. I love when the show remembers its own homework.
You remember the vending machine, right? Pop Mart's little Robo shop test near the Lego store at Arundel Mills.
Of course I remember. You called it a playbook back then. Test the demand small, then scale up.
Well, the demand showed up. Full store, grand opening, ribbon cutting, the works.
I love being right. Let's get into it. Where do we start today?
Let's start right there with the payoff. Pop Mart opened its first real storefront in Anne Arundel County this month, Saturday the 16th at Arundel Mills Mall, right by TJ Maxx.
And this isn't their first Maryland store either, right?
No, it's their third statewide. They're already in Towson Town Center and the mall in Columbia. But this one's personal because it's the one that started as a bet on a vending machine.
Walk me through that again for anybody who missed it in July.
Pop Mart put a Robo shop, basically a high-end vending machine stocked with their blind box collectibles, near the Lego store at Arundel Mills earlier this year. No lease, no build-out, just a machine and some foot traffic.
Cheap test, low risk.
Exactly. And a company spokesperson told Patch the demand through that machine was, quote, strong. And that's specifically what got them to commit to a full-scale store.
That's such a smart way to de-risk retail expansion. You don't have to guess whether a neighborhood wants your product. You can go find out for $20 a pop before you ever sign a 5-year lease.
It's basically market research that pays for itself while it's running. Any small business owner scouting a second location in his state should be stealing that idea, not just Pop Mart's Playbook. A farmer's market booth, a pop-up table at a festival, a weekend renting somebody else's storefront. Test it cheap, then commit.
The grand opening itself sounded like an event too. Doors at 9 a.m., giveaways, and they didn't even do the ribbon cutting until about 30 minutes in because fans were already lined up buying.
Store hours run into the evening most days, 9 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays, so they're clearly betting on that mall staying busy after dark.
It also says something about mall foot traffic more broadly. Malls have had a rough decade nationally, but a collectibles brand betting on evening hours at Arundel Mills into the fall says somebody still thinks that mall is worth showing up to on a weeknight.
Malls that survive right now usually aren't surviving on the old department store anchors anymore. They're surviving on the tenants that give people an actual reason to linger. A collectibles store where teenagers and their parents both want to browse is exactly that kind of tenant.
I'll say it. I called this back in July when we first covered the vending machine. I said, watch for other malls to copy the test market playbook. Somebody go check if that's happening yet.
Noted. Consider it homework for a future episode.
All right, next stop. And we're staying in Anne Arundel County for this one, actually.
2 stories, same county back to back. Anne Arundel's having a moment.
It is. This one's GRAFTON Pickleball, and it's a mother and son operation, Chris and Wendy Noty.
Different scale of business than Pop Mart, too. That's a global collectibles company opening a store. This one started as 2 people at a kitchen table who turned into a manufacturer.
I like that range in the same county on the same day. It's not just big box growth out there. There's homegrown, too.
Okay, I need the origin story.
Chris picked up pickleball during the pandemic boom, like half the country did, and started noticing the paddles on the market weren't actually built for how people were playing. So he started tinkering with designs while he was living in New York and eventually brought his mother in as a business partner.
From noticing a gap to an actual company. That's the whole small business story in one sentence.
Their line here is good, too. Chris said, and I'm reading this straight, the more we played, the more we realized existing paddles didn't have the design, durability, or performance we needed to elevate our game.
That's a founder who got annoyed enough at a bad product to go build a better one. I respect that energy completely.
They just released a new model, too, the Orbit 1.0. And here's the part that actually surprised me. This isn't a local novelty brand. They're shipping nationwide and internationally. They specifically called out the UK and Spain.
A pickleball paddle designed in Anne Arundel County, landing in somebody's hands in Spain.
That's wild to me, honestly, for a sport most people still picture as a retirement community thing.
It's not anymore, clearly, and that's the opportunity here. Pickleball is still growing fast enough that a well-designed product from a small manufacturer can find a real national, even global audience if you get the product right.
And it's not like pickleball paddle manufacturing was some obvious industry just sitting there waiting for a Maryland company to jump in either.
That's the bet every product founder makes, though. You don't wait for the market to feel obvious. You notice the gap everybody else is just complaining about, and you go build the fix yourself.
What I like is they're leaning into the community piece too, not just selling paddles into the void. Player feedback baked into the design process, that's how you build something people actually trust enough to recommend to their whole league.
That's the manufacturing story underneath the fun story. Somebody in this state is designing and presumably at least partly building sporting goods that compete on a world stage, not importing a white label paddle and slapping a logo on it.
Small business owners making something is always going to be my favorite kind of story on this show. There's a difference between reselling and actually making the thing.
And this is the kind of manufacturer that could use more of the spotlight in this state. We talk a lot about biotech and cyber on this show because that's where the big grant dollars go. But a two-person operation building and shipping a physical product out of Anne Arundel County earns just as much attention.
Different conversation entirely, too. Nobody's handing Grafton a state grant for a paddle. They're just building it and selling it, which might honestly be the more Maryland story of the two.
Agreed. All right, Chessie, before we close it out, I think this one's yours to bring home.
Oh, I've got the big number today. And it's not a dollar figure. It's a decade. Hook and Reel, the Cajun seafood spot out in Lanham in Prince George's County, just turned 10 years old at its original location.
10 years is no small thing for a restaurant. Most of them don't make it past year 3.
Right, and here's the number that gets me. That one location on Woodmore Center Drive has grown into a chain of more than 60 locations across the entire country. Some of the reporting says 63.
From one restaurant to 60 plus in a decade. That's the kind of growth curve you usually only hear about from a tech startup, not a seafood boil joint.
That's exactly why I love this one. The owner, Sean Carson, said it best. This restaurant is where our story began, and 10 years later, seeing families who celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, and life's biggest moments with us is what makes this anniversary so meaningful.
That's not marketing copy. That's a guy who remembers what it felt like when it was just one location and a hope that people would show up.
They're celebrating September 19th with an all-day event, happy hour specials all day, a $250 gas card giveaway, raffle prizes, the works.
And can we acknowledge the menu for a second? Because it is not a small operations menu. Snow crab, Dungeness crab, crawfish, mussels, scallops, blue crab, lobster tail, king crab legs. That's a serious seafood boil program for something that started as one location.
And that's not a menu you build overnight either. Getting a seafood boil program that consistent across 60-plus locations means somebody solved supply chain and training problems most restaurant owners never have to think about at just one location.
Which is really the underappreciated part of any restaurant chain's growth story. Getting people in the door the first time is only half of it. Keeping it consistent enough that they come back at location number 60 is the actual hard part.
It's a Southern-style boil with po' boys, too, so it's not chasing every trend. It found its lane early and just got really good at it before it started replicating.
That's actually the through line across all 3 stories today, now that I think about it. Test something small, whether it's a vending machine, a paddle prototype, or one restaurant on Woodmore Center Drive. And if it actually works, then you scale it.
Small bet, real proof, big swing. That's the Maryland playbook this week, apparently.
I'll take that as our episode theme. And Chessie's rule stands too. 10 years and 60-plus locations closing the show, even without a dollar sign attached to it.
Not every big number needs a dollar sign in front of it. Sometimes it's just time. Endorse.
All right, before we let you go, 2 things.
One of which keeps the lights on around here. Literally.
This episode is sponsored by Maryland Smart Energy. Smarter bloodings, smaller bills. They help Maryland businesses cut energy costs through utility-funded programs, nothing out of pocket.
And right now, through September, that includes HVAC tune-ups at no out-of-pocket cost, fully funded by Empower Maryland. You're already paying into that fund through the Empower Maryland line on your utility bill, so this is just about actually using what you're already paying for before the heat breaks your system.
Worth saying, since we lean on AI to make this show every single week, we're picky about which tools we use, specifically ones that cover their own energy and grid costs, instead of quietly shifting that burden onto your utility bill and mine.
Same instinct as our sponsor, honestly. Keep the costs where they actually belong and say so out loud.
Find Maryland Smart Energy at mdsmartenergy.com, and every fact from today's episode is sourced and linked in the show notes.
That's the show. Catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And now on YouTube if you want to watch Cal's face when he says 60-plus locations, like he's personally proud of every single one.
I mean, I kinda am. And if you want this in your inbox before we've even finished editing it, head to marylandmeans.business for the newsletter.
And remember, Maryland means business.